It's summer, in the year 20XX. Same group of friends meet up in the usual spot to talk cars and grab a burger when someone gets the idea. Hey guys, why don't we go on one last trip together and hit all these crazy mountain roads? One was hesitant, one was enthusiastic, and the other determined to be the best at racing. Each friend agrees to the road trip. What they didn't know, however, is that as they death-defyingly drift their cars along these tight mountain roads, they would discover more about themselves than they ever thought possible. Or at least that's the story I started forming in my head as I played through Inertial Drift. In reality, there isn't a whole bunch to it. It is about a group of friends going on a trip to practice racing, leading up to the Grand Prix. But it isn't much more than that, and for a cozy little indie racer, it doesn't really need to be more. But I couldn't help but headcanon how cool a semi-serious story could be with overly dramatic stakes and character growth via racing. Anyways, alright. So today, I'm going to be talking about one of the two final Xbox Live games with gold, Inertial Drift. I've had my eyes on this game since it originally came out in... checks notes. 2020? Huh. I thought it came out like a year ago. Developed by an indie team called Level 91 Entertainment and published by P-Cube, Inertial Drift is a racing game that caught my eye with its stylish anime-inspired graphics and unique control scheme, but I never quite pulled the trigger on getting it, so seeing it pop up as the last game with gold, I thought it was a good time to finally give it a try. The game's story mode opens up with some dialogue about the friends I mentioned earlier and the road trip to train for the Grand Prix, which doesn't really happen in the story mode. It's just sort of a reference to the Grand Prix game mode. So after a brief intro, you pick one of 3 characters to play as to race through 5 unique track environments, with a 4th character unlocking after you complete one story mode, as well as a special hard mode. Each character has unique story cutscenes and events to play through. The events range from stuff like duels, races, time trials, style events, and endurance races, which honestly, outside of style events, all the race types essentially feel the same because of one glaring issue. And this is my first real criticism of this game during this video. You'll phase through other cars on the track. This disappointed me a bit. My first race event, I thought I was about to rear-end my opponent, and I tried to swerve out of the way, only to be met with my car phasing through my opponent. Now, I can kind of understand why there's no collision in the game. The later tracks get really tight, and the game is almost more about racing the track and perfecting your racing lines than racing other drivers. It's still a bit disappointing and holds this game back, I feel, from being more than just a fun, interesting gimmick with its unique control scheme. This makes all the race events in the game essentially feel like time trials. The opponent is there, sure, but they always feel like they're racing the same line over and over, so instead of racing other people, it just feels like you're racing the track more than anything, which isn't a bad thing. Like, it can be fun in its own right. Just look at games like Trackmania, where the whole thing is just like trying to find the perfect line through the track and try and get the best time possible. The style event I mentioned a bit earlier is like your standard drift event from games like Grid and Need for Speed, where you chain drifts together and earn more points the closer you are to walls. However, due to how simple drifting is, it's not super difficult to win. In my first attempt, I actually got a high enough score to unlock the secret platinum medal for the event. Now, I just mentioned how drifting is simple. Well, kinda lied. It is, but it isn't simple, because this game's control scheme is unique. You control the car with the left stick as usual, but the right stick controls your car's drift momentum. The further you push the right stick, the wider your car swings out to drift in that direction. It's surprisingly intuitive, and after just a few minutes, I found myself already trying to calculate the perfect time to swing the car out into a turn to get through it smoothly, and more importantly, how big of a drift was needed to get through the turn without losing any speed. There's 4 categories of cars with different drift mechanics that handle wildly differently from each other. The first car used in story mode was pretty basic. It had a decent drift range while going full throttle, and if you needed a tighter drift, you could let go of the gas or slam the brake to throw the car out wider. Looks pretty basic, right? Super easy to wrap your head around. Now check this one out. This is one of the cars in the experimental category I unlocked through story mode. It would barely drift holding the right stick down, and I would have to hit the gas while drifting to make it drift more, and hitting brake would straighten it up only if you had already let go of the right stick. Otherwise, if you hit the brake while you're mid-drift, it will just make you swing out even wider. This car was really weird to control. Like, trying to describe it doesn't do it justice, especially when you're used to one of the easier controlling cars. These experimental cars require a lot of learning and really challenge your knowledge of the tracks and the game's mechanics. But it felt really rewarding when I wasn't completely messing it up and spinning out into the snow.
Mamma mia!
Now, these extra cars you unlock through story mode can be used in the game's other game modes like Grand Prix, which sends you into a gauntlet of 5 events you need to win with limited retries. It's pretty short, but with the game having an achievement for beating Grand Prix with every car in the game, it can add up to a few extra hours if you're going for 100% to get all the trophies. I really like what the developers tried to do with this game. The drifting mechanic is super fun. I just wish there was a bit more track variety. I touched on it briefly, but there's 5 environments, with each having 2 tracks each, with a forwards and reverse variant. However, so far I've played 2.5 playthroughs of the game's story mode as I record this, and it's just been reusing the same tracks for each character's story. So unless you play Grand Prix or Challenge mode, you're not going to see the other track at that location or the reverse variants, I don't think. Now, I almost think this game would have worked better if they had just made it all about racing time trials and went more of a track mania route, tossing you into a wide variety of maybe shorter tracks with various unique obstacles and routes to make more use of the game's mechanics. So you're constantly thrown into new situations and trying to find the right racing lane through the track. Because when you're zipping down the mountain trying to find the best way to maintain speed through the turns is where this game really shines. Especially when you're trying to drive one of the experimental cars, which have such a crazy high skill ceiling. I spent like half an hour just trying to win one race event in the game's story mode. Overall, I enjoyed my time with Inertial Drift as a break from some of the larger games I'm playing currently, and I'll probably keep coming back to it every now and then until I get all the achievements. Inertial Drift is a game I highly recommend trying if you have Xbox Game Pass or Gold before the month of August is over. And if you stumbled upon this video because you're just interested in knowing more about Inertial Drift because it's on sale or at a bundle or something, I definitely say give it a try if it's on sale or in a bundle. If phasing through opponents isn't that much of a deal breaker for you, that is, because I wouldn't call this like a racing game. It felt a lot more like a time trial racing game, if that makes any sense whatsoever. A lot of the fun comes from self-improvement and trying to get faster times instead of trying to beat the AI, because it didn't really feel like there was much of an AI. And with that comes an end to Xbox Live's Games with Gold. Now, it might be fun to meme on programs like Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus for having quote-unquote bad months of games, but I always loved them for their ability to shine lights on smaller games that maybe got overlooked or didn't get much love. There's definitely been a lot of games I've gotten through PlayStation Plus and Games with Gold that I either haven't gotten to yet, I come back to from time to time, and definitely plan to play at some point. Nowadays though, I think shifting all their resources solely into Xbox Game Pass is probably better, as it's arguably a better place for indie titles to shine. There's definitely quite a few smaller titles I've had downloaded from Game Pass I've been putting off trying out. Maybe I'll give one of those a try soon and cover them for future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like, and I hope you have a good day. Bye bye.